Hi everyone, this is Demo Gonzalez of Heartwood Financial Services. Hey, thanks for joining us for our financial wisdom video of the month. This video is on a character that not a lot of people have heard about, and I want to draw some, I think, very important lessons that we can learn from Miss Hetty Green. Alright, so you may have heard of Rockefeller, maybe Carnegie, Ford, J.P. Morgan. These were people that were contemporaneous with this lady right here named Hetty Green. She had the unfortunate nickname of the Witch of Wall Street. And it was mostly because she basically wore the same black dress all the time, and she was quite a miser. Now, Hetty Green was actually a very rich woman. She inherited over $6 million, and she grew her wealth to over $100 million. Now, this is back in the late 1800s. And so that would be like over $2 billion today. But yet she lived like a pauper. She always had this belief that she didn't have enough money. And so there's a story about her, a couple stories. One of them was her son got very sick. I guess he hurt his leg, and she refused to take him to the clinic or to the doctor because it was too expensive. And so she ended up taking him to one of those free clinics, you know, where the doctors go and volunteer time. And apparently by the time she finally took him, it was too late. They had to amputate the leg. Can you imagine being a billionaire and not having enough money, you think, to help your son so his leg doesn't get amputated? And there's also a story where she had a hernia, and she would walk around with literally a stick that she would just poke her gut with to put the hernia back in, because again, she just thought she didn't have enough money to go and take care of her hernia. And so this is how she lived. She lived in constant litigation with her family for money that she thought she was due, an inheritance, instead of when her family gave it to charity. And so this was a poor lifestyle that she lived. She lived in an old apartment where a lot of her contemporaries were living in nice mansions and building a philanthropic empire and legacy. She did not. This is why not too many people have heard of Hetty Green. Now, I tell you Hetty's story to make an important point. That well-being, financial well-being, is not about the numbers. It's really more about what you believe. And I know a lot of us struggle with this. I personally do myself, that we sometimes don't feel like we ever have enough. And so what I want to talk about next are some beliefs that come from the Word of God and the Bible that help us, give us a guide of things that we should believe that would help us have a much better well-being. Alright, so the guide that I wanted to talk to you about is really these 4 principles that are summed up by behavior follows belief. And the first principle is stewardship. Now, I should probably add that Ron Blue Institute is where I got this information from. Ron Blue is actually one of the founders of the Kingdom Advisors group that I'm a member of. They help financial advisors and investors with biblical financial wisdom. So their first one is stewardship. Do I believe that God owns it all? The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. The world and all its people belong to Him. I say thank goodness. If it was all up to us, that would be pretty scary. Hetty definitely had a problem with this, right? She thought it was all up to her. She had this mindset of scarcity, where she couldn't just remake any of this wealth that she has, so she couldn't lose one penny of it, and she had to gather it all up. And so this goes, I think, against the stewardship principle in the Bible, that everything comes from God. The blessings come from Him. He is our provider, not your bank account. And in a way, this is actually a relief I see it as a relief. This is something that, of course, is harder to live by than to think about and say, but it is an important piece of the puzzle of these lessons that we can learn from Hetty. All right, the second principle of behavior follow beliefs is contentment. So do I believe that what I have right now is enough? Now this is a tough one, right? This was Hetty's problem. And so in Hebrews 13:5, it reads, "Keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have, because God has said, 'Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you.'" And so that is very reassuring. Of course, it takes a lot of faith to really have that sink into your heart. And this is something that I pray a lot about as well. And I think this would be obviously a very helpful principle to really ingrain into your mind. All right, principle number 3 of behavior follows beliefs. Faith. Do I believe that I demonstrate my faith through my finances? Now, I think we always do that, but it just depends on what we put our faith on, right? Where Hetty put her faith on her money and how much and having enough to take care of whatever she thought she needed to take care of, we tend to do the same thing. And my challenge here is to put into your mind what it says in Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. And I think this would be something to pray about, to have that kind of faith, because you could see the money, in your bank account, but you can't see the God taking care of you always. Sometimes you see it, but it's not always tangible and in front of you. So it does take a lot of faith. So the fourth and last principle of behavior follows belief is the principle of wisdom. Do I believe that God's wisdom is true and available? And that's something that just takes some time to develop, through a lot of prayer, through a lot of experience, and I would say a lot of reading of the Word and just seeing how there's so much truth in it when you start living it out. And so James 1:5, it reads, "If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you." So it is available. All we have to do is ask. We can tap into all the wisdom of the universe, of the collective minds of God. And if we just ask, and there's so much wisdom there. The wisdom of people changes all the time, and sometimes it's not that great, but the wisdom of God is true and is universal. And so I pray that we tap into that wisdom. I pray about it every day. So Hetty Green's example reminds us that wealth alone is insufficient for well-being. A mindset of scarcity and bitterness or fear is antithetical to contentment. On the flip side, if your financial attitudes and beliefs are healthy and empowering, you can experience peace and well-being even in times of setback or loss. I hope this was helpful, guys. Throw out some comments and or a like, all that stuff that makes the YouTube people happy. But thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. God bless.